I am Bonin Bough, and today I am the face of America. I guess the ultimate message I want to pass to all those people who want to be entrepreneurs is go! Do it. Hi, I am Bonin Bough, and I currently run Bonin Ventures. I'm the Chief Growth Officer, and we are a growth accelerator looking to help emerging businesses and entrepreneurs and even large businesses fulfill their dreams and do things that they didn't even think were possible. But I think first and foremost, I'm just a person who cares about people living out their dreams. I am born and raised in New York City. My dad was a jazz musician and photographer. Photographer was really his day job. Jazz was his passion. My mom, also an artist, but really focused on driving the business. They built their own studio right around the time when I was born. I was born on 17 East 17th Street, and then we moved to 14th Street. And 5th in a 5,000 square foot studio, but at that time it was New York in the 70s, and so those neighborhoods weren't the best neighborhoods. They were actually filled with artists. And I think the thing that I take the most away from my childhood was that anything that you could imagine you could create. So my dad, as a special effects photographer, would take these ideas and turn them into film that you could actually see and experience. And this is before computers, so it took a lot of, okay, I have this vision, but now how do I turn it into something that I can translate, that people can actually experience? Multiple setups. There's this one photograph that my dad has, and it is a shot. It looks like there are typewriter keys. So at that time, typewriter keys were bent heads, right? So there's these typewriter keys that look like they're sticking in what looks like the moon, so they're sticking in sand, and in the back you can see kind of maybe other planets, and then you see a typewriter ball flying across in a streak, and all these typewriter keys looking up, almost as if this typewriter ball is the new thing, and that was the introduction of the IBM typewriter ball. And so to be able to take that imagination and that idea and bring it to life, for me, left me with the sense that anything was possible. If you could dream it, you could do it. You just needed to figure out the Lego blocks. I grew up on Lego, how to make it happen. Marketing is both science and art, just like life is science and art. But I think more than anything, marketing is your ability to express something to somebody in a way that allows them to have an emotional connection and ultimately take some form of action. And I think that we have taken marketing and turned it into something which we believe can be quantified and something which we try to understand and study, but it is, for all intents and purposes, I think, a combination of art and science that revolves around connecting and creating emotion. What we forget, and I feel very blessed to be in marketing and to work with some of the greatest brands in the world, we forget that there was a time when Levi's meant freedom to people, where Pepsi was the choice of a new generation, where it created movements, and the ability that we have as marketers to actually interact with culture and connect with people in ways that actually changes their lives is probably something that we've forgotten that is the most quintessential and important. So that's what I believe. Marketing is both science and art, but it's really about emotion and connection. There are millions of people who work inside of organizations that they don't own, and they wake up and they do that every single day. And you are just as important as an entrepreneur and have the opportunity to do as many great things. I used to call the people who I worked with entrepreneurs. People work inside of organizations and bring about change and deal with challenges that even entrepreneurs aren't even built or prepared to deal with. And the hard work comes from not just being an entrepreneur or intrapreneur, but having something that you believe in so much that you can bring it to life. And that's where I think we forget. There's so much on like, oh, I'm an entrepreneur, I own my own business, and that's gonna be the future, the future. Well, the reality is if you look at startup alone, 1 in 10 startups actually succeed. Not to say that that's not a great thing, and it's a path that I'm on now, but I also spent 2 decades building a massive career. And if you remember that a job is not what you go to do, but a platform that can change who you are, then the world becomes a whole different place. And I feel that there's too many messages in the marketplace today that don't talk about the power, the opportunity, and the people who work inside of these organizations and make these organizations great. So the biggest message I want to leave this with is that all of you are the people that are the lifeblood to building this economy. You are the people who I'm inspired by and I get excited by. And you are the people who have to understand that you are entrepreneurs building the future inside of organizations. Without you, none of this is possible. My advice for the Democratic presidential candidate is build one-to-one relationships with your constituency. Look, we love text messaging. We think that's big. My advice for the Republican candidate would be the exact same thing. Build one-to-one relationships with your constituency. My advice for the world would really be, once you're able to connect with political figures in a one-to-one fashion, ask them the real questions and find out if they really believe in your ideals and where you believe the world should go. I think we forget that this amazing experiment that we call democracy can only be shaped by the people who are within it. And it is more resilient than we even understand. I mean, you have to understand, we went through a civil war, we went through assassination, we went through impeachment, we went through flags being burned in the streets, multiple world wars, and Vietnam, and we've emerged on the other side as a democracy that proves that not only do we stand for ideals that have shaped modern society as we know it, but for the rights of humans and around the world. And if we continue to believe in this experiment called democracy, and we continue to ask on a very one-to-one basic level the people who represent us and govern us the hard questions and make sure that they align with where we believe the world needs to go, we will continue to be not just a great country, but I think more important than that, a guiding force for what's possible when humanity unites. But we can't do that. That's not possible if you don't participate in a democracy.